Stage.
All right, there we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It is Saturday night. It is time for the weekly dig here on Anime Archaeology. New name. And so we're here to talk about all the latest happenings in the anime world. Spoiler alert, not a huge amount this week, but we'll get there. We'll also be analyzing a movie of our choice, which we'll also get to here just very in a very few moments. But first, I wanted to say hi to everyone and say hi to you all. How y'all doing today?
Been a surprising and enjoyable day today. My routine was suddenly changed and
Yes.
Yeah.
refreshing.
Oh, glad to hear that.
Yes. When travelers drop by and get to go do things and eat sushi and hang out and go to the arcade, it's always a damn fine day.
Traveler stopped by, so did you talk to Paimon? And
Yeah. I did actually play. I actually got I napped. I napped this afternoon because it was sushi and everything else. It's like and rain, the sound of falling rain. But then I did get on to Genshin for a little bit, finish the daily quests, like whoop the butt out of a Pyro Regivine.
Nice.
Which just I really enjoy sticking at a certain level and then just weapon advancing, so that it's like, okay, I might not be the most advanced in adventurer level, but holy cow, I pack a punch now.
I can now kill you all. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, oh, that's really enjoyable. So
Cool. How you doing, Steve?
Not too bad. I got my first vaccine shot, Pfizer shot.
Excellent.
Get my second one in 3 weeks, so I'm happy about that. That much closer to not having to run the whole 9 yards. And they told me, do not show it online. So just pretend here's the card right there with all my stuff. But let's see here. Beer detonate on me. I was telling you guys about that earlier. So it was covered in brown ale. I smelled delicious.
Good.
For a little while. It
delicious.
Also smelled like the guy who's over on 31st Street after 3 days. But that's how it goes. But nice, enjoyable weather for the past couple of days. Enjoyed it. Was out today and came back in and kind of looked over some of the sweat I got at this little thing called OnCon.
Oh,
OnCon 3.
Cool. Glad to hear that.
So
Yeah,
so that was fun. That was fun. Yeah.
Cool.
yeah, my swag arrived today too.
Paprika for
awesome.
yeah. And by the way, for those who missed Brent's cooking of cookies, I can attest that they are very good.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you.
I want to know, did any of them arrive whole besides the egg cookie?
The Ed cookie arrived whole, which I was a little bit surprised about.
Yeah.
But and that's actually we're going to eat that last. And I would say about a good 2/3 actually made it whole.
Wow.
Made it in. I was a little bit surprised. So I was like, wow, all right. So that's
FedEx?
yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
I was expecting some crumbles, things like that. Yeah,
Sure.
but they did a good job.
That's cool.
Did you get
And
the
so
one
you
that
can
was
see
filled
some
with
of the
wasabi
stuff-
yet?
See some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some taste back a little bit.
The secret wasabi cookie.
That's
Alton Brown did a recipe.
oh god, wasabi.
Alton Brown did a recipe of.
No, I was just gonna say.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Alton Brown. Alton Brown's always good.
He did a bunch of Halloween recipes and making your own things. And one was popcorn balls. So making popcorn balls. And when he was done with all of them, he said, "Now, because I'm me, and I believe that trick or treating should have actual tricks in them. About 1 in 10, I'll put a little dollop of wasabi just right in the center of that, and then just give it out to the kids."
Which in this day and age would get you arrested as like some kind of terrible crime. You adulterated popcorn balls. They're handmade. Want from me. It's not like I bought it at the store and then went and adulterated it then.
Not that you can hand out popcorn balls anymore anyway. I'll get tossed immediately.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah, yeah. I actually came across there's a riff tracks of a short educational film from the 70s about Halloween safety that was advocating, just throw out anything that's not prepackaged, you name it, just everything has to be completely, a prepackaged candy or bust.
From the
In the
70s?
70s, yeah, like late 70s.
Wasn't that the one where they showed the bloody mouth?
They did not show that. No. But it was they referenced that unfortunately sometimes adults will put things in candy that are bad for children. So which, by the way, for those curious, there was a story. There was a story passed around that people would insert razor blades into apples and so forth, and thing never happened. There is no evidence
Needles
whatsoever.
and- yeah.
Needles. It's just a complete urban myth.
No evidence. Yeah.
So.
I think the worst I ever got, somebody obviously was not prepared, and I got cough drops.
yeah. That
So,
is
they were
classic sort
they were
of-
like Hall's lemon, something or other, and they didn't say Hall's. They were kind of clear,
Okay,
but the minute I ate it, I was like, "Wow, that's my sinuses are clear, but I don't understand why. This is a weird lemon drop."
Yeah. I think the worst always is the box of raisins. It's about 6 months old and is all congealed into a dry lump. That's anti-Halloween right there. But well.
Yeah, I was not a fan of apples, though. I will be honest with you. Having gotten
That's the
apples and
ID
oranges, you're like,
All right, let us go ahead and get started then. It is time. We are here to talk about a little movie called Paprika. This is, sadly, Satoshi Kon's final film. Kon had made a handful of films leading up to this point. Perfect Blue, Millennium Actress, Tokyo Godfathers, and I may be missing one in there somewhere, and Paprika, and then had done the TV series Paranoia Agent. And Paprika is actually a movie he'd been planning to do for a long time. Paprika is kind of one of those stories that was very formative for him and was very much kind of, oh, this is my story. It is based on a I believe it's a novel, like a relatively short novel, but like a novel. In fact, apparently when Perfect Blue came out, folks were like, "Have you heard of Paprika?" And he's like, "Yes." I know. That's
we're in pre-production. Shut up.
yeah, pretty much. And so he'd been wanting to do it for a while, and just things happened, and he couldn't do it. So he ended up being able to do Paprika, which I don't know. I mean, for me, there's a lot in Paprika that feels very much like it is the ultimate Satoshi Kon movie.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for that.
Yeah, because all the themes are here. You have fantasy versus reality, although in this case it's not. It's dreams versus reality.
Right.
And it's you have that theme of a female protagonist who's kind of has some kind of, I don't want to say trauma, but some kind of unusual perspective on things, who is dealing with that. And one of the things I find so interesting about Paprika is how it, like Perfect Blue, for example, starts so grounded, and then just very slowly starts getting weirder and weirder. And Paprika starts right there with the circus and all the weird imagery and so forth.
Which is very grounded in a circusy kind of way.
Well, the opening scenes, credit scenes into Paprika for me, once you get through the weird circus scene, is one of the best opening scenes I've had, or I've ever seen. It's one of my favorites. The way that she flies around, flits around, and you're kind of told at this point that she can go from subconscious dream to things to just as she's moving around, and she has the ability to do things like when she's stuck in traffic, she just snaps her finger and everything stops, and she just skips on her merry way.
Very much Perfect Bluey, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just like skipping around. I'm like, oh, geez, this again.
Yeah.
Boy.
Sans attempted murder with an umbrella.
Yeah, but still that fluidity of skipping along. It's like, oh, geez, we've seen this before, haven't we?
And which I'm sure was basically a callback. It was,
Yeah.
oh, hey, you remember that movie I did? We're doing that again, basically.
Well, when we're looking at movie marquees for Detective Kanakawa, one of the movie marquees is Tokyo Godfathers.
Oh, nice.
Tokyo Godfathers.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, why is that marquee, like, it's very readable? It says Tokyo Godfathers. I'm like, hey,
Hey,
what are you doing here?
Self-promotion.
Yeah. Well, the thing I also liked about, and it would be great to have seen kind of anything, and Brent, maybe you know, but that initial opening circus scene, because of the way that Konakawa, he's a cop, but he also sort of has like spy thriller fantasy.
Yeah.
That initial opening scene is really reminiscent of one of the James Bond films with Roger Moore, where it's the Soviet circus.
Russia with Love.
There you go.
Oh,
and it's like, all I could think of that is like the circus is happening, and I'm like, okay, he's running around. He's like, yes, he's here. I'm like, dude, this is like homage to like Ian Fleming. This is a Bond film.
Yeah.
All the way down to the point where you're like, don't strangle me on a train. I'm like, isn't there a scene where Jaws is like trying to kill Roger Moore, James Bond, on the train, and he's like trying to punch him through the window, and it's just like,
Yep. No, I think you're absolutely right. And I don't know for a fact, but you're absolutely right that it is very, very much a James Bond sequence.
Yeah. And like frighteningly close in a lot of the way that it's done, where I'm like, damn.
Yep. And which again, I think is sort of a bit of a callback to Millennium Actress as well, which is very much about an actress reliving her career. Right. So kind of combining both a filmic quality right to the scene. Right. Yeah, totally. And what I also like about this is it allows us to sort of jump in. And also like the whole hallway scene remind me of The Shining, actually. Yep. A little bit of that there. But yeah, there's what I like is that you still don't know what's going on, right? Like you know this is clearly like not fully reality, but you're kind of waiting for that. Okay, what is this? And I remember watching this and going, okay, I know what Satoshi Kon does. I kind of know his point, and I was so relieved that then
mess with your mind.
Exactly. I was so relieved that then 4 minutes in, we're introduced to the technology and what's going on.
Right.
So it's like, oh, okay, good. It's not going to be weird fantasy stuff for 2 hours and then you finally figure it out. Which makes the film, in a sense, one of the more grounded Satoshi Kon works, because you know that this is when you are dealing with dream versus reality. Sometimes it's not obvious until things go weird, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, that, sort of.
Yeah.
I think certainly by the time you hit the end of the film where it's just like, okay, Dr. Chiba, her capabilities of dealing with the sort of split between the dream reality and the real reality, and her ability to sort of flow through that and maintain sort of her own ego integrity. Yeah. You don't know what is going on, like whether she is appearing as herself and she is maintaining her integrity in this insanity that's around her, or whether it's that's reality, and where it's like, damn it, start losing the threads of like what's real and not real in this film. Or it's like,
yep.
When she's Paprika, obviously that's dreamy time, but when she's not and there's still crazy things, it's like, okay,
yeah.
When the night parade starts happening and people in the public are like looking at it like, huh, what's that? It's like, okay, now things are, I don't know where I am now.
Yeah. Have either of you seen Paranoia Agent, out of curiosity?
I've
Yes.
seen a tad.
Okay,
I haven't seen.
yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little dark for my
seen
usual
it like,
watching
It's
needs.
yeah. There's darkness in paranoia.
Yeah.
Yuru Camp, Non Buri, Paranoia Agent. Very discordant.
One of these things is not like the other.
Yeah.
Well, much less the club. That's a whole thing.
Well,
Yeah.
and I was waiting for you to. There's a robot
jeez.
chicken a sketch that they do where they do that song,
Oh.
and they've got all these kids in panel, and then one of them is just like slumped over. And it's like one of these kids is not like the other. One of these kids is dead. It's like not great Eurocamp paranoia agent. Bang, right there.
Yep. And yet that show has such wonderful humanity to it. But anyway, it's the great thing about Satoshi Kon. One of the great things is that, as we talked before about Paranoia Agent, is that so many of these works then become sort of weird, really nihilistic, and this has this lovely heart to it.
Right.
But yeah, it's also
that heart might be in the palm of your hand. You're clutching it, but
yes.
it's still got a lot of heart.
Also remarkable for you don't see a lot of non-traditional body types in anime.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the portrayal of an obese man sympathetically in an anime film is quite remarkable.
Well, it's also.
Although
I mean, it's an interesting.
I'm not.
Oh, all right, so Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. It is one of those things where at first you chuckle at it, but then you kind of move on with it. But at the diner scene, where she comes in and she goes, "Okay, the ramen." Yeah, and he's talking and raises his hand. She sets in front of him. The beef. Yeah,
Steak
and,
set.
The paella. I'm like, dear Lord, in my big days, I couldn't even do that. I mean, I'm just like, God, how?
Yeah. He's a big man.
What I was going to say is that the interesting part is the way that he is the tech genius, shut-in style, and Homura, his assistant, is also like the assistant genius, shut-in style. That it's like. It's a non-traditional body type, and certainly how the development between Dr. Chiba and Dr. Tokita develops is far different than what you would expect. But for the different body style, it is still within the corners of what you would consider to be like an outsider of society. Yes,
you're
he's a
right.
genius, but he's still pegged in this otaku kind of obsessive person with his like of otaku styled things, and it's like, okay, so you present this difference but package it kind of in a way that's like, okay, oh, this is so radically different. Not quite. But,
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's I guess I should say it's remarkable for the fact that there is any sympathy for the character, because I was waiting for him to be Dennis Nedry, basically, all the way through, but he's pretty sympathetic character, especially by the end.
And presented very childlike, which, is endearing, but at the same time, it's like, I'm not, this is post-game play. The intent of the character is by the creators' machinations and what they're doing with it. But I would like to have seen a fully competent, fully self-actualized big guy who isn't a jerk, who's not like some kind of like, I can destroy the entire world. No. Same sympathetic character, but fully possessed of his own authority.
Yeah.
Rather than being like, he's a genius, but he's really just a kid inside a big man's body. It's like, okay, yeah, I got you. You got to sell things sometimes.
Yeah. Isn't there a manga or anime about a girl who falls in love with like a big guy?
Mamoto Marshmallow.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. And he's an office worker. She's an office worker, and he's got like the Perry White kind of haircut kind of thing, like square to top, little mustache. And she keeps giving him like she comes in and like accidentally leaves a bag of marshmallows, his favorite food, on his desk, and there's this very, very cute. He's like in his mid-40s, and she's like 20-something. So it is genuinely a very cute little show, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. But yes, he was treated childlike, but he was her kind of like other department, but superior. So he'd been there, he had knowledge, he was a good worker, good office worker kind of guy. So it's like you didn't need to have the childlike obsession with marshmallows, but at least he got treatment as a person, and as a person in some authority, which was a bonus.
Yeah, totally. It's also interesting to me how you can really contrast the two elements of her personality, of the the Paprika versus the real. So I talk a lot here about Serious Women's Lane, and one of the differences, one of the neat things that Lane does is that whenever you see Lane on the internet, she is much less inhibited. And she's much more talkative and so forth, because that's what we're like on the internet. Like, we're kind of pseudo-anonymous, so it's okay, and so forth. And you really feel that here, where when she's in the dream state, she can kind of throw it all off and just be kind of relaxed and so forth. It's a version of herself that she feels she can do. And there's obviously a commentary there on kind of sort of Japanese professional woman norms. Like I read this, and I may be wrong, with the idea that a professional worker like this cannot be seen to be lighthearted and happy and so forth. Like, she has to look serious and look the part to be taken seriously, which is a shame. But and then of course you have the Ghost in the Shell character for some reason.
Yeah. But he's so fun. It was Oji-san to Marshmallow.
Oji-san to Marshmallow. Okay. Yep.
That was the series arc.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, it is very interesting because she is so rigid. She and I'm assuming that is obviously the intentional part. Her rigidity of character is the focused control she has that allows her, without the DC mini, to move into being Paprika and then back out again. So it's like she's had enough, acclimation to it, as they discuss, that once you get used to it, you kind of get and sort of adapted to that ability to travel in and out. And it's like, obviously, it's her force of character as Dr. Chiba that allows her to keep her feet grounded in where reality is, because holy cow, the way that she can switch in and out, it would be very, very difficult to be able to focus your conscious mind on what is reality at any given point in time.
Yeah.
Like, we see all the people that have that problem the whole film. Like,
much less in real life.
Yeah.
No, totally. And I also wonder how much there is an aspect to that too, of her training herself, of her, creating that mental discipline in herself, which then gives her this personality.
Well, you see some of the team, like specifically the male researcher and the female researcher, and the female's talking on a phone that's her shoe.
Yeah.
And the other dude's just wandering down the hall going, we're going off to do whatever. It's like, they make the point of saying, it's like, here are people that were on the research team that have had experience with this machine, and yet they've just lost touch with how reality works, and they're just gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's obviously taken the time to focus in on how that works.
Well, she takes the time, and she had said, I mean, when you watch her going under for the first time as herself on the bed, and putting the actual mini on, because previously she hasn't been. She tells the other doctor, hey, be sure to set up the protocol to get me out. So she has a lot of knowledge of this. She has as much knowledge of it as editor does. So she and she has spent so much time into it that she's able to, as you all have been talking about, able to separate herself but still be the same thing until at the end of the movie when Paprika turns around to her and says, "What makes you think you're not part of me?" Come on. So how much control of this do you have until it's really about denial of what your dreams are denying, or what you're denying yourself that your dreams are trying to say, no, this is what you want, this is what you need.
What is the saying? Do I contradict myself? Very well, I contradict myself. I contain multitudes. We have lots of conflicting desires and interests and so forth, and some of them we act on, some of them we don't. And so, I love that aspect of the film. There's a question of, how much are we the product of our decisions, and how far can you go with those decisions before you've kind of gone way far away from your true self, so to speak, or your inner desires. It's really interesting. And then of course you have because it's Kon. You have all this wonderful repeated symbolism of we have that original sequence, and then the next thing is at an amusement park, which is kind of like a circus. So we're kind of back in that same kind of context. And then trying to understand what's going on there. It's just there's so much. What are your thoughts in general about just sort of I found myself at times when I was watching this movie feeling sometimes lost in kind of a frustrating way, in terms of when is she Paprika, when is she not, when is she all that kind of stuff. And I would eventually be able to figure it out, but there are times when she turns around and it's like, oh, it's not, okay, gotcha. And I found that in the moment frustrating. Did you guys have that reaction at all?
No, because but I understand why you would, why anyone would. But when you watch Satoshi Kon a lot, you come to expect the one constant. Even the self-imposed rules that he makes within the movie are broken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every single time. Paranormal, or it's a series, Paranormal Agent, Perfect Blue, whatever. This one. So, and this one is allowed to break its own rules, which people go, no. The dream logic exists because this is what we set up in the beginning of the movie. And so the movie sets things up that sets you up a construct of which you go, okay, so we kind of think we might be in reality here, and this might be the dream. We understand that these two people are one, and and then by the end of the movie, it's all just like,
Well, that is dream logic. It's all
that's exactly it. That's exactly it. Is that Satoshi Kon is like going, if you think you know what dream logic is, here, let me throw the giant doll that's decimating downtown Tokyo and screaming and sounding like Ayeka from Tenchi Muyo screeching in Tenchi's ear.
And clawing its way through buildings.
Right. Yeah, but that's the whole point is like all the rules are broken at this point because that's the only logic of dreams is that there is no logic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There is no such thing as a logic of dreams. Yeah.
And I think the first time I watched it, I spent a lot of time going, okay, that's okay, huh?
Mm-hmm.
This time around, I second flush with it, and I'm just kind of like, I'm just gonna look at the imagery. Look at the depth of the dolls that are in there. Like, is there a particular thing that I'm seeing when Dr. Shima is like riding on the pelican and he's just sort of surrounded by dolls? I'm like, is there any specific doll that I'm supposed to look at that it's
so much
representational of something? like when Paprika shows up as the woodcutter's daughter, when she's got like little bun hair and dark hair,
Right.
I'm like, okay, that's a reference to like a classic story of some sort that I'm not particularly aware of. I don't know the significance that image.
Yep.
Like, I don't know the significance of Paprika's doll when the one that's right before that one.
Right.
Or Homura when he shows up as that doll. Like, I don't know the cultural and mythological elements of any of these things. Like, is she supposed to be Anne of Green Gables with that kind of European bonnet and stuff? You know what I mean? So a lot more time I could spend looking at what was on in the background this time around, and then just, you know, again, I've said before, letting it wash over me for the other stuff that confused the living heck out of me.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of the things that Satoshi Kon kind of emphasizes in a lot of his works is that, you know, not only are Steve, as you say, that the rules can be broken, this isn't real anyway. Like, it's all ink and paint.
Right.
So it's, yeah, you can do whatever you want, really.
Although, John, I will have to say, when you said, well, I was going to focus on the imagery, the first thing my mind just jumped to was back when the crowd comes down rushing at the detective stuck in the cage, and then you realize, oh, it's all his own face on there. Oh, these people. Oh, no.
Well, this is one of the...
It's like, oh, what's up with your psyche?
Yeah. Well, and you know, this is also a movie being made by somebody kind of at the height of their powers too, and with a lot of budget. You know, right? We all are going back watching Perfect Blue and realizing, oh, they're squeezing every frame they can out of their staff here. This is not that. This is very clearly, we can just pour visuals onto the screen here.
Well, the night parade alone.
Yeah.
You could have
blended
some of the characters in the back to just be kind of a smear of color and stuff. But no, there is continuity and individuality in every movement of the night parade.
Yep.
Where it's just like, wow. Like, that's you.
Yeah.
Kudos on y'all for drawing all of that crap.
Yeah.
And constantly drawing it forward. And like, damn.
Yeah, and you know, this is not CGI. You know, it's really hand on.
Yeah.
So there's the storyboard meeting when that is announced. Okay, you're going to be doing this, and all the animators just go,
Exactly.
yeah, you're not going to see me for 3 months.
Yep. Exactly.
Now, I want all you folks to get out there, start animating, and earn your $3.75 an hour.
Yeah.
What?
We're getting a raise.
$3.75? Oh, don't go crazy. I'm only talking about 375 yen an hour. Don't go nuts on me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is nuts. It's one of the reasons that makes Paprika so bittersweet. Is thinking, oh, what more could we have gotten out of this man? Given this depth of complexity. And you see that too in a lot of the littler things too of even just like the smaller images, the smaller moments. I'm trying to find some here, but like there's actually the bar scene. I love how Kon is able to do these. I
love the bar scenes.
Yeah, you know, there are these.
Can you say Shining? You know, like the first thing that came to my mind. I watched the bar scene. I'm like, oh, something terrible, weird's gonna happen here.
And it's great.
So there are.
Good.
There are so many things about the bar in this movie. Is that first of all, that is a prototypical Japanese. That's what they look like. They're compact. They're kind of like that.
Izakaya.
The uniforms and everything. And the glasses, when they take the time to show you the glasses and you notice that the ice is rounded.
Yeah.
In there, that's a thing. And so like, you know, a Japanese whiskey bar, they'll sit you down and they will bring out the equipment to take a block of ice and turn it into a ball and put it in there and then pour your whiskey in. It's about just amazing that they would go that far into that detail. And then the fact that this is kind of like Paprika's and the detectives, who, by the way, is probably one of my favorite characters in all of anime.
Really?
I don't know why, but he is. And yeah, and I don't know what it is that I enjoy about them, but I just really like them a lot. And but that's kind of like their date place or their meeting place and all that. And one of the first times that I saw the movie, and when she brings out the card, he goes, "Where can I see you again?" She brings out the card, and there's the email address on there.
Mm-hmm.
And that email address used to be a BBS board
Oh, interesting.
that was related to the movie.
Wow.
That became a blog forum. It's now shut down, but it became a blog forum for people who enjoyed the movie to come through. And then it became something that Satoshi Kon said this to be something that people, rising talent, can use to get together and communicate with. And that was very short-lived. It only lasted like a year.
Mm-hmm.
And but that was actually a thing. So now when you type that in, it takes you to a YouTube channel.
Yes, it does.
Which
Because I did the same
has
thing.
a whole bunch of
type it in.
yeah. Yeah, it takes you to a YouTube channel where it's new voice actors and actresses, and they in Japan they kind of introduce each other, and it's kind of neat.
That's really cool.
Originally, that was a thing.
Wow.
It was a thing.
Wow, that's nuts. That they would insert something in the movie that actually works and goes somewhere. Like that's
Right.
lots of potential for bad stuff there.
Well, I mean, think about The Simpsons. There's an episode where Homer is saying something about his email address, and he's like, chunkylover53@aol.com. That's chunky, and I'm like, that just got 100 billion emails. Homer, is that you? And you're like, here we go.
Yeah. Which is why you have 555 numbers in
Exactly.
movies. Yeah.
8675309. No.
Yep.
809. Oh, damn it. Johnny Two-Tone.
In your head now.
Yep.
What was that? Yeah, thank you.
And then the as you say, the movie takes a turn. It just starts getting weird.
It's a hard left.
It's a hard left.
Like, whoa.
The whole butterfly, her thing in the coming out of the chrysalis of the body, which I will put on there, is one of the creepiest moments creepiest visuals in anime, when like her body is opening out and she's coming out of it.
Yeah.
It's
fantastic. I mean, just the animation of his hand into her abdomen and then running up her skin. It's just like, that was wow. That was some amazing animation. It gave you a tactile sense, like just the
that was a Cronenberg
squish
moment.
And slide,
totally.
where it's like,
I'm betting that's a Morimoto woman. Like Koji Morimoto that we talked about before.
the
The animator who does all the 3D stuff, who does
Yeah.
I'll Take You Forever stuff.
Yeah,
That looks
the
like one of his
hand wrapping
shots.
around
Yeah,
stuff.
I bet that's him.
because I mean, I could feel the push and squish, and it's just like, ooh, wow.
Yeah.
That's an uncomfortable feeling.
And let's not beat around the bush, if you will. There is definitely a physical, shall we say, sexual element to this scene.
I don't think you should. I don't think you have to beat around the bush for that one. Really obvious where this was going to go if the Lord of Dreams didn't show up and have Violatus Interruptus.
Yeah.
So.
Down to the tentacles. Okay, Cone, you went there. All right, gotcha.
Yeah. Albeit brief, but wow. Yeah.
Definitely there.
The blue butterflies. What is the representation of the blue butterflies, by the way? I have not looked that up.
As I understand it, it's a memory. Butterflies are a symbol of memory.
Well, I've seen blue butterflies before. I think it's from XXX Holic.
Okay.
That blue butterflies occur in that. And I've seen it some other places too, where something weird is going on and a blue butterfly goes by, and it's like specifically blue, not yellow, not red, not purple, blue. And it's like, okay. Don't know what that is, but I'm getting signals. Don't know what they are.
Right. Yeah. And then, like I said, the movie takes that hard left. Um, and this is the point where it's like, there's not much that I can kind of describe at this point, because it just becomes this whole crazy tumble of imagery and folks kind of trying to kind of swim through this mass of dream imagery that's constantly flooding through there, including the scene at the end that I can't show you, as you were talking about earlier, where let's just say she grows from a baby to an adult woman, and it's an odd moment, because I remember watching that and going, wow, like, why? Like, what are they do? Oh, maturity, right? Like, the whole thing is about being a mature person and how that kind of gets you to something that's there. But like, it's on screen for a long time. It's like,
Well, it took a while to piece that together. Like, she's consuming the dreams, and it's like, okay, so are you referencing the fact that as you start small, you have these wild and grandiose dreams? I'm going to be a police officer. I'm going to be a fireman. I'm going to be a spaceman. And that literally the process of maturing is that you consume the dreams that you had as youth, and that they sort of are digested and go away, so that by the time you mature, it's a kind of a, I was like, it's got to be a horrible message, because by the time she matures entirely into the full form adult, she has consumed all the Dream Master. So literally, she has consumed and destroyed dreams to become an adult. I'm like, that can't be the message, dude.
I don't think
That's
it's that.
horrible message. As you grow up, you have no dreams because your life is crap. Oh,
No.
Kill your dreams.
Like,
No,
that can't be the message. Like, no.
I think the message is processing, right? It's you have your dreams. That's great. What are you doing with them, right? What are they telling you? And, how should you act on with those? And to be clear, I'm not saying you should act on all your dreams. That's not the way dreams work. But
that's what Hollywood thrives on, Brett.
Oh, jeez. Don't get started on Hollywood.
Everybody who serves tables and washes cars, everyone's a star.
Exactly.
It's Hollywood.
But yeah, this is a film that's very much that meditation on what does it mean to be a together adult, right, if you will. And I felt it was the idea that you have dreams and that's great, but you also need to put those in an effective perspective, and then act on those appropriately, and be able to have both and in this case, you have your profession, which you can be very effective and good at, and you have your playtime, where you can kind of let that out, and whatever you need to do to satisfy those various parts of your personality.
Right. Which I think, as we discussed earlier, Dr. Chiba, she is, there's a reason why she grows up to be the consumer of the Dream Master, is that she is, despite whatever her own psychosis in the background we never learn of, she is able to have her dream and segue from the wild fantasy to the reality, and she's able to maintain that in a way so her consumption of the out of control to bring it under order makes sense, but who knows?
Well, there was an interesting comment. There was an interesting comment during the movie where she and Paprika are talking, or I think it's she and Paprika, and Paprika is like, "How are you doing?" And she makes the comment of going, "I haven't looked at my own dreams in a long time." And then one of the things that she, towards the end of it, as she's looking at, what's his name again? Tokita.
Tokita.
Okay, Tokita.
Yeah.
Tokita. And she's just like, okay, I have to look at this. I mean, and accept it and just embrace it, which is, wanting to be with him, being, loving him.
Mhm.
And just, and then as she pops into him, it was almost as if they were merging their dreams, and what comes out is their combined dream. And there's no room for the Dream Master in here. So, because that's going to destroy whatever they're trying to build. It's evil, I guess. And that's, and then, of course, like you, I can't really explain why she's going from child to maturity. And then there's that whole thing here, just like going, I'm just going to accept that she's doing away with the Dream Master. Because
they're winning. That's the important issue here. They're winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all for share. They're winning.
Well, one of the things I and maybe it bears a third watching, is they were talking about Homura and Homura's use of the DC Mini. And you see the side of Homura's face where the DC Mini is under his skin and it's moving. But it's never, nobody like explains like that's not the reality. That's like, it's kind of segueing into the dream that what they're seeing isn't the DC Mini actually attached and inside him, that's impossible. It's just a piece of technology. It's not like, hey, we discovered this alien DNA, let's make a thing. Oh no, it's merged with you.
Right.
That's never really addressed. It's just that, Homura had so much contact with this as well that his psyche kind of got blended into things, and then you see the things moving around. It's like, so is that Homura's like dream of this, like this thing's now controlling him, and this is something, and we're seeing as an external observer Homura's dream, and that's what's telling us that the world is merging. And it's like, more exposition on that specific moment.
That was my interpretation, is that we're seeing a kind of a symbol of what this has become for him. Yeah. But again, I think it's one of those things where Kon is like, like, I'm putting these visuals in there for you all to play around with and experiment with. Like, I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to give you that definitive thing.
I think that panel would be so frustrating with him up there. We all ask, so what did this mean? And he'll just go, yes.
How do you feel that it should mean?
So, funny side note, I've been reading interviews with Hayao Miyazaki this week, and he was asked at one point, what is Totoro? Like, is it a forest god? Is it a spirit? Is it, what exactly is it? And he laughs.
A chipmunk.
And he laughs and says, I can only answer that with, it's Totoro, because otherwise people are going to get so mad. There's no answer to that that's going to satisfy people, right? Like, even if he says, well, I saw it as, it's just, it is what it is. It's fine, But yeah, I think it's kind of like that, where it's like, Kon's interpretation almost isn't important in this movie. And to be clear, I think understanding creators' intent helps to better explicate movies. I think it's an important, useful thing. But I think in a film like this especially, Kon is just kind of like, have at it. Just have fun with it. I'm not trying to be representational, quite clearly. Yeah.
Well, from like what we discussed about Lane, it's some of the viewing is in what you yourself take from the imagery. Yeah. And sometimes that's the absolute point. Like, they've got an internal dialogue. There's an internal thing that's going on there, and that imagery to the creator is important in what it can evoke. Yeah. And so that as people go off on their tangents, that can have a good laugh.
Yeah. Miyazaki actually talked about that, where he said, not to get off topic, but Princess Mononoke was meant to be this exploration of what Muromachi era like ironworkers were like, with a fantastic element, obviously. He said, but then there were no iron forges anywhere like that in history. I just really liked the image of a giant forge, so I stuck it in there. So he's like, just take what you have,
Right.
It's art. It's creative license.
Yeah. I'm doing things over here. You guys worry about how you want to see it.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah, no, it's interesting, and one of the things that I also find interesting about this movie too is that like we were saying before, which we see here in the ending, that uncertainty with Dr. Chiba and how she should behave and do this, and how she's like, she sees Paprika and she's like, "You're doing and which is very human, right? We have those misgivings, and it's good to have those misgivings, right? It's not like, oh my gosh, it makes her a bad person. It's not like she's working through stuff too,
Right.
and so she's allowed to kind of move forward despite uncertainty, which is cool.
Well, it's also interesting to see that Paprika is the uninhibited element that Chiba wants to embrace. She wants to embrace Tokita in the way that she likes him. But he is a coworker. He is this guy working on this important thing for this, for the project, and Paprika would have no problem. The way that Paprika interacts with Konakawa, she's very close to him. She's very willing to touch him. She's very willing to be in the present moment with him.
Yeah.
And Chiba, and you see that at the end of the film where it's like she's just so struggling to integrate some of that freedom that Paprika represents into her demeanor to get someplace where she wants to be. And it's just like, that's nice.
It's also cool because, like, I was just noticing in this shot, one of the things you'd often have in this thing is, one character would be in the dark, one character would be in the light, and that would be the thing. But no, like here, like Paprika's in the dark. Like she is the shadow side of this character in this moment, and Kona's not saying it. No, this isn't a good versus bad. This is a choice A, choice B. Now you want more B than A. Well, that's a place you have to go. Yeah.
While poor Chief Shiba is back there patting his head. He's had a rough day.
Interesting character, though.
Well, I just love the fact that he goes absolutely bonkers when they're having a meeting with the chairman, and he starts screaming, runs out the window, and he's like, "Yeah!" First time I saw that, I'm like, "What did I miss something?" He was like having a totally rational conversation, and he just goes completely left field. I'm like, "What's up with that? What's happening?"
I would put money that is based on a real person that Satoshi Kon knows in real life.
It's gotta be.
Or the original author.
He's very lovingly crafted.
Yeah. That's actually one of the other interesting questions about the movie is, again, I haven't read the original story. I wonder how faithful it is.
Yeah, I wonder.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, they obviously had the budget to do it to, a point where the story is well matched to the film. But
yeah. And I'm sure it's not 1-to-1, right?
Right.
No, nothing ever is. And I know, like, I remember Kon saying at one point that he was fortunately at a point in his life where he didn't feel a need to, exactly match the thing he was adapting. But as I recall, like, he talked to the author fairly extensively, and they were pretty simpatico with, like, the approach. But yeah, it's an interesting question. I wonder how much is kind of compressed down, because it does feel like a lot of the relationships here would benefit from, like you were saying, John, before, a little more explanation, a little bit more sort of delving into the details of what was going on. But
Homura and Tokita are great friends. From like how just in their working association. Obviously they share some similar love of dolls and geeky nerdy otaku kind of stuff. Is that so? Were they truly friends? Were they childhood friends? There's pictures of them together. So why? It'd be great to know, and then have a little more depth into like why did Homura get influenced by the chairman to secret away the DC Mini and to do these things? What was the motivation there? Purely jealousy? Why jealousy?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, couldn't he? Regardless, there's so much more to explore there.
Yeah.
We don't have the chance.
I think it was also smart in this movie to, if you're going to cut anything in a story like this, cut the exposition and focus on the wild visuals. I of all things in this kind of movie, I would rather see the craziness as opposed to, well, as you know, Bob, not that it would be that bad, but yeah.
Well, hey, it worked for the Transformers franchise, so
Oh.
why couldn't it work here? Story? We don't need no stinking story. More robots, more explosions. It's all good. This is not about thinking. This is about watching.
Those movies hurt me.
Never seen a one.
Those movies beat me up in an alleyway and took my wallet.
Oh, feels that way sometimes. Oh man. But yeah, it's a ride. It's definitely a ride of a film. Any other thoughts anyone wanted to get across? And I should point out, like, there are other elements of this movie that I'm not explaining, partly because I'm having trouble remembering all of them, because it does get a bit of a blur, but also because this is such a visual movie, because there's so much going on, there's a lot where they can't really say, well, in this one scene where there's this one thing going on here, what does that mean? They spend the rest of the day.
Well, I thought it was very interesting that you got with Konakawa, you got, some greater depth into why he has this recurring circus fantasy, why his dreams show up like they do, the hallway guy getting shot or going down the hallway. Things kind of come around to really kind of an unexpected lost opportunities and drifting of your dream path. That was like, for all his mental imagery, was far more of a mundane thing than like I expected. Like, oh my gosh, the guy in the hallway, he's at fault, and this is something he did, and he's living with such great regret. It's like, no, he just regrets like a really mundane career choice, and it's so huge in his psyche. I mean, that was at least interesting to see how that played out to the end of the story, with so obviously much more going on.
Right.
The whole DC mini thing is like the Dream Master himself is controlling everyone's dreams. That's a huge story, and yet here, let's focus on this guy and his career choices. It's like that's an interesting, juxtaposition of something mundane and something globally catastrophic. Like, oh, cool.
And like you say, it's kind of neat, because that is a lot of what we worry about, right? Or like those mundane things. Most people don't have these massive dramatic things, and those are kind of most of our dreams. Yeah. Steve,
it's like, that's funky.
I don't know how many times I've seen this movie, like Perfect Blue. I've seen it way too many times. It's one of those things where I almost just wanted to stay quiet through the whole thing, because I just wanted to hear what you guys have to say, because I've seen it so many times where I'm just kind of like going, what's that?
Perfect Blue. I saw Tokyo Godfathers. I totally missed the Perfect Blue marquee.
Both Perfect Blue and Millennium Actors are playing in the theater. Yeah.
So he dumped 3 titles. Perfect Blue, Millennium Actress, and Tokyo Godfathers into the marquees.
Yeah, I wonder if Paranoid Agent's in there somewhere.
Oh, damn, that's funny.
It's got to be in there somewhere.
Yeah. Hey, look at the films
but
I
was going to say, is that maybe he knew he was going to die, but the whole thing is there's, hey, but the whole movie is for me is that I don't think that, and this is just my opinion of it, I don't think the dream has ended.
Interesting.
And at the end, that it's still somebody's dream. And the reason why I say that is because the detective, I think it's still going on in his head. I think it's still happening, but that's just, and the only thing I have to go on for that is the fact that he towards the end he visits the bar again through his laptop. But they know who he is, and he has a message from Paprika. So how can he be getting through this through the laptop if he's not dreaming? So I think this whole thing is, isn't just about his mundane choices, but I think it's all still there.
Yeah.
And it's still happening, and it's still a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we never do have a resolution as to what happened to the DC Mini. Just because you managed to defeat the Dream Master,
Right.
the DC Mini and the therapy machines, they didn't just go away.
Mm-hmm.
So, depending on what the Foundation does without its chairman, it presumably they're still doing research. They don't know the chairman's gone. Mm-hmm. So presumably the Foundation is still doing all of its thing.
Well, and, not to be too meta, but isn't this whole story of the DC Mini and all this kind of stuff and this giant epic story very much like the kind of story you'd have in a dream? That he made it all up as this fantastic, thing he was involved in. Who knows? Maybe there's no DC Mini, right? Maybe it's all just part of his dream.
His great fantasy that involves James Bondy kind of things. You've got James Bond gadgets.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I could easily see an argument for that. It's like, oh no, the DC Mini is just a gadget. It's Q. The Tokita is Q.
Yep.
Q has come up with a gadget. This gadget allows people to go into dreams, and this police officer, this is his grand fantasy. He's like the super cop, and he could go into criminal dreams, and he could catch people, and it's like, that easily could be.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Kon. You're very much missed. Just such a great movie. And remarkably short. It's just barely an hour and a half.
Right. Although, if this was like a 3-hour, like major sit down, I'm not sure I'm not sure I can take it after about 2 hours. I'd be like,
The Paranoid Agent is what, basically 4 hours of Satoshi Kon, 5 hours.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's
a lot of Kon.
Yeah. And it's Kon.
Imagine watching Perfect Blue for 3 hours. Oh, boy. I need a lot of popcorn, and I'd need Steve, the alcohol delivery man. Popcorn and lots of brown ale.
Gosh. Yeah, I don't know what food pairs well with Satoshi Kon movies.
Insanity?
No.
Insanity.
I was thinking madness.
That's the thing, though. His movies are there's always a thread going through. It's never random. It's never it's just it's intense.
How about a
goulash or something? I don't know.
Well, I was gonna say, how about a Chateaubriand and a fine Bordeaux?
Sure.
To enjoy the savory flavors and the slightly licorousness of the of the wine to go with it, so that it chills you out in just the right place and time.
I like it. Cool.
Rich, satisfying.
Have a nice smoking whiskey and scotch over in a highball with nice rounded glass.
There we go.
To open the nose. Yes.
And then at the end of it, and then after 80, 90 minutes of this, and you go and make you malt liquor because you're angry.
I've made it through the other side. Time for some Colt 45. Sir, your Colt 45 is prepared. Would you prefer it in the brown paper bag or just in your hand? Oh, brown paper, please.
Exactly. Please.
But
we're sophisticated. We're watching sophisticated.
Yeah. Pinkies up.
All right. That will, I think, do it for us. We're going to be right back in a few minutes, talk about anime news and other stuff going on. So we will see you in just a moment. Oh, as the burp comes up. And they can hear that. Great. Okay. welcome back. It is still Saturday night, I think.
Yes.
Thank you. Good. Glad to check.
Yeah. It's all one big day.
We managed to get through Paprika like relatively decently.
We did, yeah.
It's not like 10 p.m. where it's like, okay, marathon discussion's over.
Yeah, one of these days we'll watch.
I think there's a point when an anime. I think there's a point where an anime just gets so whacked out, you're just like, and that's how I feel. That's it.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yep, totally great.
Yep.
What you guys been watching and or reading this week? Besides
Eurocamp. More Eurocamp. I did start Gun Parade
Always
March.
Eurocamp.
I watched the first episode of that.
Oh,
so
okay.
I've got to keep rolling with that. I got one episode under the belt, and I've watched more redo of Healer, which I read an interesting article that said in Japan that there is a large female viewership following of that show.
Interesting.
Which I thought, there's like some not real savory things that happen in that show, right? Like, okay. And then we hit the 11 episode conclusion of the Jobless Reincarnation. So they're going to move on to the next season. That's already green light, but it's just like, thank you. I still have to wait for it. Like, you're in the middle of the story. And I guess we're getting, I'm a Spider, so what? Is going to keep moving forward. Because I was expecting episode 12 this week to be, ta-da, we're done. And there's a preview for the next episode, and I'm like, I got to look that up, and I forgot to, whether it's a 24 out of the box. I'm like, ooh, geez, I hope so.
I don't think so. But wait a little while, and we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We talk about that later tonight.
Oh yeah.
So 13 is going to be each
yeah.
episode, and then it's going to be done. Damn it.
So I've been reading more House of God, which is interesting, but at a point where it is definitely a manga.
Okay.
And it's definitely, if you're into like I am to wine and spirits and things like that, then it's pretty cool. But if that's not in your wheelhouse, then it's probably not going to be for you. But that's okay, because it's definitely hyper focused in that thing. And I think I said earlier, I got a bunch of swag, and one of the things I've started.
Ooh. Yeah.
So I'll be talking about that later in a couple of weeks.
Please save my earth. Yep.
Save. That's from the auction.
Nice.
Charity auction. And
fascinating book.
Kind of. I don't know if you guys saw the.
Yeah, there's 5-star stories.
Yeah, and of course after last weekend doing OnCon, there were so many things that I up on in YouTube land, and after watching Ginger Gaiden and her lovely videos, and just kind of just catching up on all that stuff, and starting to put together the next panel.
Ooh.
Nice. For OnCon. I'm coming down with the list of subjects.
Okay. Look forward to seeing that.
So where we're talking, I think we're down to Dejima, Actual History of Ninjas.
Right. Okay.
Or Tokugawa Junpei.
Ooh. Yeah. All three. Sounds good to me.
There's a 2-day ninja school in Tokyo, Steve. I think it's got your name on it.
Oh, boy.
See
complete absolute training, certificate included.
I've been reading.
Go Ninja.
Yeah, go Ninja, go Ninja, go. I've been reading Turning Point 1997 to 2008, which is part of a series of, which I was mentioning before, part of a series of books called Turning Point, which are collections of interviews with Hayao Miyazaki. So basically, each volume is sort of different.
Oh, you got the book?
Yeah, so I have.
Nice.
You came in. Yeah, so I've been going through
nice.
that. Yeah, so it's so this is Princess Mononoke, basically is where we are right now. So this series covers at least Mononoke and Spirited Away. I'm not sure what else. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff in here about the conceptions behind Princess Mononoke, what Miyazaki was trying to say with the movie, a lot of what they worked on, a lot of the intent behind the scenes and behind the approaches to again, sort of historical accuracy. All of the outfits, they basically tried to make all of the like clothing and so forth very period, correct, Muromachi period. And he said it was actually kind of fun making an anime set in an actual historical period, where obviously Kiki, Castle in the Sky, and so forth are set in sort of Castle in the Sky is sort of a quasi-European,
right.
Kind of a thing. Kiki is kind of a thing.
Right.
Boccoroso is definitely Italy, but still.
Right.
Setting something in an actual historical period, but where there's still a lot of question marks was kind of nice because he had some space. And then like we were mentioning, and then giant forge, just cause. It was cool. That was cool. And so still digging into that. But some really interesting stuff around like Japanese misconceptions about Japanese history as well, that he's kind of trying to deal with. So.
There weren't just yokai roaming the land.
Well, it's more. He's basically trying to show the lives of like non-samurai, of non-farmer peasants, of the breadth of different kinds of people who were living back then, and the different kinds of things you could do. Because all the period dramas are about the evil lord, the samurai caught in the middle. And the poor peasants at the bottom, right? Exactly. It's like okay, it was a little more than that.
Society is emperor, shogun, daimyo, samurai, peasant. Yeah, that's it. There's not any other humans there.
Right,
wait a minute.
So also interesting because he said,
"Are you sure?"
Yeah.
It makes for a very functional economy. No, it does not.
The Muromachi period was a period in which. The Japanese I'm gonna get crucified for saying this. The Japanese character and culture kind of solidified to what modern Japanese think of as Japanese culture and the Japanese spirit and all that kind of stuff. So basically, before the Muromachi period, you had people who were ethnically Japanese, all that kind of stuff. But it was a lot more lawless. There was a lot more things moving around, so forth and so on. The Yamato people were conquering Japan and so forth. But the Muromachi period is where like, okay, we can really see what we think of as recognizably, the modern Japanese sort of approach to things. And I'm saying that as I am not saying that. I'm saying that historians and commenters often say Muromachi period is kind of the coalescing period.
So is this like transitional from tribal affiliation to the concept of we are Japanese, but we live in like Gifu Prefecture, right? So we are from Gifu, but we are Japanese from Gifu, versus being like we're Ainu.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. We're not Japanese Ainu. We're just Ainu.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And also things around like family structure, social structure, all that kind of stuff, kind of solidified into a more classically Japanese structure, I guess.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Glad to hear that, Ahmad. Thank you for saying that. I need to watch Violet Evergarden. Thank you for the pointers on that one, because that's high on my list. Needs to go there. But so Turning Point, thumbs up. But it's a bunch of interviews. Like, why wouldn't you, basically? If you're just in that stuff, go for it. But yeah. Let's see here. Y'all hear that?
Has returned. for a second Brett was going to put a hat on the monitor. Like, what? Hold on. Now you have a hat too. Oh, thanks.
There we go. Whoops. Hold on. Whoops. That's not it either.
Fade to black.
Yep. What's going on here? Hold on. Why did my thing not work?
It's a dream, friend.
It's all a dream.
It's all a
It's all a
dream.
dream.
That DC mini that we sent you, it's starting to work.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. I think we got it. Welcome back to the latest anime news for the week ending March 27th, 2020. And let us switch 2021, I meant. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's been a week. Starting with news of the Justice Department reviewing the sale of Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Over the last few months, we've been hearing about the sale of Crunchyroll to Sony, who also controls Funimation and a few other anime services. However, the United States Justice Department might be throwing a wrench into Sony's plans of anime streaming domination. As of this week, the U.S. Justice Department has extended its antitrust review of the sale, seeking to determine whether the deal would give Sony too much dominance over anime streaming and give Japanese animation studios fewer options to distribute shows in the U.S. Warner Media, current owner of Crunchyroll, and Sony have told the Justice Department that their services are only two among many options anime creators have for distributing their works outside of Japan, including Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, and the recent addition of High Dive. The companies also urged the department not to consider anime as a separate market from the larger range of animation aimed towards adults. Interesting take on that. Technology website The Information, who initially reported on the delay, said the review could last 6 months or longer, and if the department doesn't approve the merger, it will sue to block it from happening. Along with Funimation, which already consolidated anime services Wakanim, based in France, and Madman, anime group based in Australia back in 2019. Aniplex also falls under Sony through Sony Music Entertainment Japan, and production companies A1 Pictures and Cloverworks are also owned by Aniplex and therefore Sony. So lots of folks involved in this one.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like, wow, hasn't anime and streaming services come such a long way?
Yeah.
That now it's not just all these sort of like little distribution companies just popping up, disappearing, people acquiring, the licenses if somebody went out of business. No, now it's like a real thing where the DOJ's involved.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is this an antitrust thing? Be like, I never thought in my life I would live to hear streaming service, anime, antitrust. Like, wow. I'm gonna rub my eyes. What? What? What a time to be alive.
Well, I know. Well, aside from the fact that it's going to probably put a crimp on, I think, a little bit, to a certain point. To not consider, for me, to not consider animation is kind of odd.
Yeah.
I mean, there are different strata of animation out there. Even amongst adult animation, there's just difference. And it's not a genre; it's actual production style. So. And to have anime that's actually kind of a uniquely non-American thing, and then applying an American rule to it and calling it American that's what it sounds like to me. Is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But kind of not surprised though. I mean, if it was all coming under one roof, under Sony's roof, then this was almost like bound to happen. And, we'll see what comes out of it. I mean, the worst thing that happens is that it goes Ma Bell, and instead of having, with the industry is there, fortunately, for it to be able to subsidize anime. Still, should Sony not be allowed to acquire Crunchyroll? It's not like what happened with Ma Bell once it broke apart. And everyone's just like, what's going on here?
Yeah. I hope this provides us. I hope they reveal some information as a result of this. I would love to get some numbers. Learn what is the actual market size of these things? What is the market size of anime? What's the market size of Crunchyroll and Funimation? And I'd actually kind of be curious about the angle of animation in general, because you could certainly argue that we kind of cornered this, or we kind of buttoned up this little corner of the global animation market, but there's plenty of other studios in France and Germany and Italy and so forth. That'd be cool to get more information about that. But yeah, saying there's other adult animation out there. It's like, is there? Like, there is, but also like that's not really what you're, Black Clover. Sorry, not aimed at adults. Nothing against it, but not aimed at adults.
Right.
Weird. So,
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, all I want is Crunchyroll to have a greater catalog.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's like if this tanks and they can't do it, just please let them re-sign the agreement with Funimation so that we can get the Funimation catalog on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Like, just, because I had said some months ago where Crunchyroll pulled 70 shows out of their catalog because the Funimation agreement expired. And it's like, there's good content there.
John's still salty.
I'll be salty forever. Like salted fish. I'll be salty forever.
Let's be honest. Really, what we want out of this is for the Funimation video player to die and be replaced with the Crunchyroll player. Like that's There's nothing else. Like that is blatant.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Huh?
Well, and for those of us like me who are just kind of wondering about union rights, licensing rights, and if this doesn't go through, and this will impact other American animation studios.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're dealing with does this mean the end of things like more Adult Swim? Are you going to be able to create things like Archer without, or Rick and Morty without Sony oversight? Will you be able to do those things? Because that's going to happen. So what I'm saying is that if Rick and Morty decide that the creators decide or are pressured more likely to go into a contract with Sony in some way, shape, or form, or if their rights are bought out by Sony, then there are things that they're going to have to do by Sony standards.
That's what you mean.
That they're not going to be able to do.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to be able to do. So there's the freedom of the independent studios, and then you have people like Netflix who are making their own anime, and they're going, wait a minute, we're making our own stuff and we're distributing our own stuff. Does that mean that only people from Netflix who have a Netflix our stuff? Because we're not selling DVDs, but Sony is. We're not selling these kinds of content and things like that. So then that's going to impact, of course, your merch licensing.
Right.
So you're going to have to deal with that. Because the reason why Sony wants to do all this is because it's all money. We all know what it is about anime. We jokingly say anime is more expensive than crack, and there's a reason for that, because there's so much stuff with anime. It's not just animation. There's stuff.
Stuff. Yeah, we're surrounded by stuff.
Yeah. So Sony is looking at a potential gold mine here, but if they are allowed to do that, they can. Then you see the demands of control pricing and things like that. But conversely, the downside, if Sony doesn't get to do it, then you have studios, and then they're working on forever.
Well, and and not to defend the idea of a giant conglomerate, but the comparison is, remember what it was like when you set up a PlayStation for the first time or whatever, and you're like, okay, I have this thing and I can get Netflix, whatever, and there's a Crunchyroll app. Wow, boom! I now have access to all this content, all at one time. If both Crunchyroll and Funimation all come under one giant umbrella, then one service suddenly, whenever the next big thing comes out, you need one app to get access to that entire catalog of stuff. Like that has
One
power.
service to rule them all.
Yeah. And again, I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying having access to a lot of stuff is the pitch, right? That's kind of what they're hoping for.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it is telling. The Justice Department is like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like we're not just going to automatically let this go through. We have concerns here. So
it's not just it's a silly anime thing and
Right.
app stuff. Who cares? Yeah, they pay attention to it now.
Right.
It's like, ooh.
yeah,
Well, to your point, Brent, it's about the numbers. Somebody
Yeah.
crunched the numbers and they came up with a dollar figure that made everyone just go,
Mhm.
wait a minute. The things with the big eyes, that's how much? Wait, no. Hold on. We got to rethink this.
Mhm. Yep.
So
I might no longer have access to my waifu. I mean, antitrust.
Yeah. Well, that's and and man is mentioning physical media. That's also an interesting thing, right? Like Funimation doesn't release physical media of all of its shows, as far as I know, a large amount of them. But there's some that I believe that there's some that are still streaming only. So Crunchyroll comes into the mix. Okay, maybe those get physical media, maybe they don't. Maybe, and this is the other downside is, what if Funimation is like, you know what? Let's say Funimation Crunchyroll happens, they all get fused together, and then Funimation goes, yeah, DVD, Blu-ray, that's gone. We're not going to do that anymore. We're just going to do streaming only. And now almost nothing has physical releases. Like Nozomi is like the only one doing physical releases anymore. It's like, wow, that would suck. That's the worry, right? That kind of thing. So we will see. But
Hope for good things. We'll hope for good things.
Yeah, and again, this is all very much trying to predict what's going to happen 5 years down the line.
Man,
whoever knows. In other news,
I just don't want anyone messing with my pachinko license.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Keep with the pachinko. Let's see if it has the pachinko.
So when they show up and offer you the pachinko license, Steve, you're going to be like, I'm fully on board with this project. I see no downsides. Like, oh, we see how it is. Just offer him $200 million. Steve's easy to buy. Pfft, go figure that.
Speaking of interesting animation, Wit Studio, known for the anime of Attack on Titan, Ancient Majesty's Bride, The Great Pretender, and others, established a new stop-motion studio together with Pui Pui Molcar director Tomoki Misato. The partnership was actually made back in December, but the studio has been officially unveiled to the world this week through their first stop-motion promo video called Candy Carries. The new studio aims to expand Wit's animation production and meet new video needs. Tomoki Misato, who directed the new video, said that as the production environment improves with Wit, the scale of new stop-motion projects will also get larger, and that he aims to take on new challenges and further the culture of stop-motion. Wit's website is currently recruiting new members to join the new stop-motion department.
Huh.
So,
I'll buy
Okay.
into it.
here's the thing. I
So
love
Robot
stop-motion.
Robot Chicken didn't bring this up. Any of the Tim
Yeah.
Burton stuff with Nightmare Before Christmas. That didn't forward stop motion.
Oh, it did. But, I would argue Robot Chicken has not forwarded stop motion in any way, shape, or form.
Come on. Toilet humor aside, it's brilliant.
I love it. I love Robot Chicken. Robot Chicken makes me laugh every single time. I don't think it is changing the face of stop motion as a medium.
It's not. It doesn't do what Wallace and Gromit did.
Right.
Yeah.
Wallace and Gromit
Yeah.
did, and so
Shaun the
I'll
Sheep.
bite. I'll because I love stop. I love stop motion, so I'll definitely buy it.
So, what
And
stop
then,
motion
who knows?
sequences can we all name in anime? I can think of at least one.
Beastars.
Stop motion. Not CGI.
Yeah.
There's
No,
stop motion?
Beastars has stop motion.
Really?
It's It's the intro and
right. You're absolutely
exit.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Of course.
Which I was like,
All right.
oh my god, I
True,
can't
yeah.
believe they actually did that. Like,
That's
that's
true.
really cool.
You're right.
It's very, I mean, it's not like trying to do anything that's like realistic, but it's
Sure, yeah.
exactly is that what it's supposed to be and lets you know what it is, and is entirely enjoyable and darling.
Yeah. That's true.
Other anime?
There was Gal and Dino.
Dino.
Has stop motion.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, Gal and Dino.
Coyote Ragtime Show. The end credit sequence of that. No one remembers this show.
You've mentioned it before.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't know.
Yeah. Very obscure show, but yeah, end credits of that is just the characters in stop motion.
Right.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Well, certainly Pui Pui Molcar, which I mentioned before. And
Yeah.
I saw an article this past week, and I don't think it was from Anime News Network, but it was one of the other multitude of things that I see little snippets of. And it was saying that Pui Pui Molcar is just wonderfully, delightfully easy to watch and is so adorable. And I'm like, I called that one.
Doesn't Pop Team Epic have stop motion segments? I think
there were.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise.
Yeah. Does Panty and Stocking?
I think they should.
Geez, I don't even know.
Yeah.
One
of those things where it feels like they may have.
It may have,
but
yeah.
I don't know. But it is interesting. Like going
No,
back.
what I was laughing about earlier was.
Please.
What I was laughing about earlier was let's see if they do stop motion, remakes of movies like Paprika.
Great. Yeah.
I think you've just
Angel's
killed
Egg.
some modeling people's lives to make all the dolls. Like an hour-long film took like 9 years to make. Okay, move the third doll from the left. It's 221A, a slight bit to the left. Okay, snap now. God, kill me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's. But yeah, I'm always good to see a new studio, and good to see something where they're clearly like, this is a new direction we want to take to actually like make a difference. So curious to see what that'll turn into. In other news, very exciting to me personally, we have some updates on Despera. Chiaki J. Konaka, scriptwriter on Serial Experiments Lane, Digimon Tamers, Hellsing, and a number of other series, posted an update on Twitter this week regarding he and Yoshiyoshi Abe's Despera anime project this week. He stated, "I'm sorry that I haven't been able to report on the progress of Despera. Due to the pandemic, the project was suspended for a year and a few months. The production funding scheme is 80% completed. The core staff also did a lot of work up until a year ago. It's just been restarted, so some kind of announcement won't be made until 2022. I understand it's a long way off, but we, Abe and others, have been working on this project for over 18 years now. We're still trying to do it, so please be patient with us," end quote. The project was originally announced back in 2009 and was previously put on hold from 2013 to 2014 after the passing of original director Ryotaro Nakamura, who directed Lane, as well as other things like Kino's Journey. The sci-fi story is set in 1922, 1 year before the Great Kanto earthquake, and centers on 14-year-old girl Ain, who builds devices despite lacking any scientific background. From the creators of Lane.
Yeah, that's going to be a ride. 18 years, though, in development. Wow.
And this is the hard thing is that, this is the tough thing about it is that this very much felt like a passion project between these three people of saying, let's we all have this idea, let's do this thing, and then Nakamura sadly passed. And but it had gotten enough traction, people had heard about it enough, people were like, I would like to work on that. I'd like to work on that. And then things would happen and it wouldn't quite come together and this director would move on to something else and they couldn't get the funding in time and all that kind of stuff. So, fingers crossed we will finally get this anime some one of these days.
Well, now it's been kicked back down to 2022.
I mean, that's a year. You know,
Yeah.
I can live with that.
If you got an 18, one more year is going to make a huge diff. So.
I'm fascinated that the writer of it knows the progress of the funding. Like, I wonder what his role is in getting that funded.
Probably 100% funding means a paycheck. Like, please fund my project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've been living off of IOUs and ramen for 18 stinking years.
Also this week, stories we want to mention, perhaps in passing, perhaps not. We will see how that goes. Bandai Namco Arts and DNA have revealed a new anime and game coming sometime this year as part of their Tact Op project, which features music art girls who battle with classical music, because anime. Promo videos were also released for several of the main girls, each themed after a famous piece of classical music or opera. Thought it was cute. We'll see where that goes. Aniplex announced its new original TV anime Visual Prison at Anime Japan this weekend, which will debut in October. The series features Vampire, who play Visual K music. Yep. And is created by Noriyasu Agematsu with music by Elements Garden. I mean, let's just spin the wheel of genre. Spin the wheel of genre. Okay, those two things, right?
Vampire?
Yeah, vampires who do Visual K.
Because I want to see the vampire goes into space one, but I'm just not really sure about what the hell this is about.
We've got Zombieland Saga, right? We have zombie pop idol girls, so we can do vampire Visual K, right? Like.
Okay, yeah, look, that's fair. That's a fair thing to say. We did get through Zombieland Saga with singing zombie. Yes, okay. All right.
Anime studio Pine Jam of Kageki Shoujo Gamers and other anime series is creating a new original TV anime titled Do It Yourself. The anime will follow the daily lives of high school girls as they face struggles working on DIY projects. So, neat idea, sort of a maker kind of an anime. Shueisha announced this week that Hiro Akabe's Sailor Uniform manga is inspiring a TV animation adaptation at Cloverworks. The manga follows a girl and her classmates at a prestigious girls' middle school in their growth of their adolescent lives. The online listing for the 11th volume of Human Collection Truck, the urban legend horror manga, revealed an upcoming net anime adaptation to debut on YouTube on April 30th. The manga tells various stories centered around a mysterious black waste collection truck which appears out of nowhere and, rather than collecting garbage, collects people.
Truck Kun. We knew it was coming.
Exactly.
We've been eating Soylent Green. We've been eating people. It's made of people. Soylent Green.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody remembers that.
What fuels the garbage truck? Human souls. Ooh, wow.
The trucks are on the way. The trucks are on the way.
On
NHK.
the way.
Yeah. NHK will be celebrating the 80th anniversary of the station.
Wow.
Yeah. With an anime adaptation of Ehime Prefecture's local tale, The Sad and Fat Cat, which will premiere on NHK General in December. The story follows Cat Maru, who, since his adoption, has become well-loved and very fat. However, when his family adopts a new cat, his jealousy prompts him to leave to see the world. Seems like a very deep, dark drama there. This week's final episode of Jujutsu Kaisen revealed that a film, Jujutsu Kaisen Zero the Movie, will open this winter. It'll be based on the Tokyo Prefectural Jujutsu High School manga prequel story. So, prequel to Jujutsu Kaisen coming.
Okay.
The 12th short anime has been announced in NHK's Anime X Para Who Is Your Hero project, which is about parasports. The newest installment will collaborate with Mariko Yoshino's Team Futari table tennis novel, and it'll be the first anime adaptation based on that story. It'll air April 25th, and will feature the novel's characters meeting a professional table tennis player based on a real-life para table tennis professional named Koyo Iwabuchi. That's a cool idea there.
Cool.
The quintessential quintuplets, Dr. Stone and Mushoku Tensei, all announced this week they will have second core or sequel anime. So fans of those series, keep an eye out. More of that coming. Prolific animator and co-founder of Studio Trigger Hiroyuki Imaishi will be featured in an upcoming exhibition at Kadokawa's Musashino Museum in June. The World of Hiroyuki Imaishi exhibit will look back across 25 years of his works, including Neon Genesis Evangelion, Gurren Lagann, Dead Leaves, and many others. Original goods based on his many projects and on the exhibition itself.
Dead Leaves.
Yes. Will of course be available for purchase because merch is always available for purchase. Right?
Dead
Leaves. I want to see what Dead Leaves merch they have. Oh, man.
T-shirts, as far as the eye can see. And keychains, acrylic keychains.
Poop tubes.
Oh, yeah. Mini statue of the poop tube experience. Yeah, like, whoa.
Crazy.
And we went there.
Straight jackets.
Yeah, get your straight jacket that's got the characters on the back.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. That's all the news for this week. Thank you all. See you next week. And is the line back? It's not? Well, kind of. No, not too bad. Sort of. Bit of a red line. Not too bad. So that's the news. I'm actually looking through the schedule for tonight. There is a little bit of history. Not fun history, I will admit.
Oh.
It's serious history.
Oh.
Oh.
Somebody famous passed away.
Nope.
Oh.
Some non-famous people passed away, in a way, or people were driven to be. Let me just do it.
Do the thing. Yes, I'm curious now. Do the thing.
Welcome to This Week in Anime History, where I talk about things that happened this week in anime history. And today I'm talking about back in March 25th, 1943. Yeah, the release of Momotaro's Sea Eagles in Japan. This is a, I believe, half-hour length. I've seen it. Animated film made during World War II as propaganda to inspire people to the Japanese people to go and enlist and fight in World War II, and it worked. There are quite a few contemporary accounts of people getting so inspired. Teenage boys getting so inspired watching this film that they then went from the theater to the recruitment office to enlist to fight in World War II. And in fact was so successful at that that the Japanese government, which had obviously funded it, then directed the same staff to produce a feature-length animated film, which became the first feature-length animated film in Japanese history 2 years later. So very important for sparking the first feature-length animated film in Japan, but also just full-scale propaganda. It is a movie about basically, I shouldn't laugh, it is an animated retelling of the attack on Pearl Harbor featuring cute bunnies. It's weird. It's really deeply weird because of just the subject and so forth and so on. But it's really really an interesting film, worth tracking down and checking out because it is like they got together a whole bunch of some of the best animators in Japan to make this thing. Which they had to. They were told to make this movie.
They were made to be volunteered.
Yeah, you're gonna be volunteered.
Hey, order you to volunteer.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, there's sort of a Miyazaki connection. In Porco Rosso, you'll see there's a scene where Porco is in a theater watching a movie of these little planes flying, like this little Mickey Mouse type character flying this plane all over the place, and it is very similar to some of the sequences in Momotaro's Sea Eagles, and it's believed it's kind of a something of a reference to those movies, and it's also worth noting that partway through that, Porco just goes, "This movie's terrible." Yeah, so that is
Good.
This Week in Anime History. Yes, very good. That is This Week in Anime History. Again, serious but important. Yeah. Not fun, but true.
Yeah. Goodness gracious. Cute little animals, murderous intent.
Yeah, it's very odd. And it's funny because, like, Sea Warriors, the film, kind of works a little bit better because you have time to get used to the visual style.
Yeah.
But Seagulls is just, okay,
Right. Yeah.
this. Like, oh. Wow.
Bunnies bombing things.
Well, like I said about
Join up.
the Divine Sea Warriors, the monkeys were creepy. They're just, yeah, you can kind of get used to them, but it's just like initially you're like, oh, that's just an awkward feeling looking animal.
It also has the disadvantage of that sort of, like black and white cartoons could be very creepy. Like the whole weird Betty Boop cartoons, like sometimes that
The
really
skeleton
is.
dance with Mickey Mouse, where they're kind of very squash and stretch, fluidy kind of movement, where it's like, wow.
Yeah, it's fun and distinctive, but it's also just that's a choice.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody's ever done this before in this medium, so let's do something different. Oh boy, yeah, you did something there. Huh.
Yeah. Why didn't they do this again?
The choices we made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do I have something I like? That's a question.
Are you talking about Coyote something?
Coyote Ragtime Show. I know I pulled something else down here. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Let me see how quickly I can pull.
Oh Lord.
See how quickly I can pull Coyote Ragtime Show. Because if I have that, I will definitely talk about Coyote Ragtime Show. Because I don't think I've mentioned.
Or Space Dandy.
Allow me to refresh you on the title of the segment.
I could not even get through one episode.
I've seen like a couple of three and been like, maybe I'm not in the right target demographic here.
Yeah.
No.
That is the no. Okay, there we are. So if I can drag this in. Space Dandy has a lot of amazing episodes.
No.
And it also is like very misogynistic, and there are things I don't like about that show.
It speaks to a specific audience that I applaud their fortitude for their enjoyment of the show.
All right, let me see if we can get some good imagery of this, because I'm gonna have to jump to another episode. This is the problem. Because episode 1 is kind of a setup episode. So, boy, this is going to be an interesting thing to talk about. Okay, let me find a good image. Can we do a... No, not really. Yeah, we'll go there. Okay. One moment, please. Please stand by.
Eye on control.
Yes, exactly. Let me find... Okay, there's that. I want to do something a little lighter because of our topic last week. Like, that's not a light show. That's kind of the opposite of a light show. And then just... Oh, that's interesting. Okay, all right. Whoa! Nope. Stop doing that, Windows. Stop doing that.
But it was designed to do that.
One of those. Oh, wait, you got me near the corner? Let me expand that ridiculously huge.
I'm helping.
Yeah. Oh.
No, you're not.
I'm helping.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Where's the paperclip to pop up? Be like, do you need help? No, damn it, go away.
Damn you, Clippy. Okay. Welcome to Brent's Anime Recommendation Corner, where I talk about anime that I love. I love Coyote Ragtime Show. This is one of those anime that kind of came out of nowhere, showed up. Some people watched it. People were like, "Oh, this is kind of cool," and then it completely disappeared. It died. No one watched it, but I happen to really enjoy it. If you like, so I've heard it described as kind of the poor man's Cowboy Bebop. That's unfair, but it is about a group of con men in a science fiction future who are going after the last big score, right? You know, that classic trope of, okay, well, not con men, but like burglars and you know, ne'er-do-wells. And they're going after that one last score to find this one big treasure and break this one big treasure out of a bank in space.
Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11 sci-fi, basically, is the idea. Fun cast of characters, very much a whole variety of people, as well as lolis with machine guns. What's not to like, right? And I'm not kidding. Like that is a thing in this show. The three little girls with machine guns. Yeah, it's wild and it's great. Because you have the main characters who are cooks with a heart of gold, right? They're bank robbers, but they would never really hurt anybody, so it's fine. And then you have the woman who's going after them, the very serious detective who's going after them, and just all the adventures they have, trying to track them down, and the kind of noir feel of the overall show. It's clearly evoking that. I also appreciate the detective's assistant is basically Mihoshi from Tenchi Muyo. That's fun. And just then the fact that they throw in the fact that there are a bunch of people also looking for these folks, who all happen to be this organization who sends off 12 android battle maids who who all have their different things of guns or grenades or whatever that they fire at it's wacky, and great fun for that, because it's just completely ridiculous. Again, poor man's Cowboy Bebop. Bebop could be kind of weird and wild and wacky at times. This kind of has that vibe. I am not saying it is of the quality of Cowboy Bebop at all. I am not saying you're going to have that kind of experience. But the overall kind of concept, the overall kind of premise is in a similar kind of universe, if you will, similar kind of concept. And I just found it really fun. I also really appreciate the fact that, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, that they're doing all of this because of the adopted little girl who is coming to their lives. They're basically doing it all for her. There's a whole thing. And I'm not going to tell you anything about that, but she is kind of the key to the whole story in a very anime way. But also there's a wonderful kind of heart to the whole storyline as a result of that, of her belonging to this group of odd characters. So again, a lot of fun, a lot of ridiculousness, and just a really, crooks with a heart of gold going after the final big score in space.
And what studio did it? And what else did they do?
I do not know, but the anime is called Coyote Ragtime Show.
Okay.
So just, an anime I like.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try it. It sounds interesting.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those shows where go into it with, I don't want to say low expectations, but just it's an anime series. It's going to be an anime series. It's not going to blow your mind, but it's going to kind of hit all of those little, sci-fi, criminal, action adventure kind of beats.
Interesting. It was Ufotable.
Oh, Ufotable.
Table.
Yeah.
Ufotable. Kimetsu no Yaiba,
Yeah,
Fate Zero, God Eater. So okay.
Yeah.
Tales of Zestria.
Okay. Yep.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Add another one to the list. Thank you, Brent. You're killing me.
There was a DVD release, I believe. But again, good luck finding any DVD release these days. It isn't modern. Let me just, actually, that's an interesting question.
I have two new DVDs, Nadeshko and Megazone. So,
nice. Cool.
Thank you, OnCon Auction. Thank you.
There we go. Very welcome. Coyote Ragtime Show. Oh, I say that, and yet, Coyote Ragtime Show is available as a save edition on Amazon right now for $14.
Oh,
dang! Wow.
Save edition.
So if you're interested, it's there. It could be in your house on Tuesday, if you're interested.
And collecting dust by next week. Oh, don't say that.
And it's 12 episodes, so easy watch too.
Now, here's a question for DVD people's concepts.
Yeah.
If you're looking to watch something in its entirety and you cannot find it streamed and you find it on DVD, is it a thing to donate that to like local library and then take a tax write-off? I know you'd have to donate a whole awful lot, but could you do that? I mean,
how would it be a tax write-off?
You can
as a donation to a public library. You can't do it that way. Dang.
Nope. No, you can donate it. You can donate it. Library, what the library will do is they'll process it and see what they have on the shelves.
Right.
Depending upon how large the library is.
Okay.
But because they can't they're not allowed to determine the value of what that is. It becomes an in-kind donation. So that you
can't do a tax write-off.
Thank you so much for donating this. Yeah.
So you could do it to goodwill
but
kind
you
of
can.
thing, where you give it your own associative value and be like, oh, it's $15 million. Here you go.
Don't do that.
Yeah, that's not going to go well with the IRS.
No.
Yeah,
really, it will not.
Yeah.
But I always kind of wondered about that.
Totally.
If you don't want the joke about it's collecting dust the next week, if you were so inclined and so able to afford that, to be like, I've watched, I enjoyed it, and now I donate it.
Yeah, it's totally a thing to do. And what I advise folks is, if you're going to do that, go to the library and get an idea of their collection first. If you haven't already, like check out their stacks, just to get a sense. Because, for example, the last place I lived, my local library actually had a pretty decent manga collection, because the person there really believed in manga as a way of getting in the youth. She was awesome, but she really did try to get a good collection. Yeah. So I would be like, I should make sure they don't already have 3 copies of all of this. So it's worth kind of being aware of, find a library that will make use of it. Yeah.
And they'll tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you have DVDs that you want to donate, just contact the AV people with an email. Just give them, say, this is what I want to donate, and they'll say, give me this, this, and this, and then they'll take it. Yeah. And of course, remember, folks, they actually have to play in a DVD player. So if it was a beer coaster for 8 years, underneath for your liquor bottles, they're probably not going to want to have it.
Are you telling me my Betamax edition of the very first episode of Gundam, that's going to be useless to them? I mean,
sadly, yeah.
Pretty much, unless you send it to the Enoch Pratt Free Library, where they actually have 3 Betamax machines that still work.
Wow.
That's impressive.
You can rent them. You can rent them at the theater. You can't take them at our theater.
Sure.
The library. Can't take them from the library, but you can go there. You can rent a room. Usually what they require is that you have multiple people doing a watch.
Okay. Yeah.
So you can rent it, and they'll hook it up for you, and then you can play stuff.
Wow.
Betamax.
Because there are some movies on Betamax.
Yeah.
Wow. And we all know that the quality is actually superior to VHS. Yeah. I do not know. Yeah.
And it's so much better than Blu-ray DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
The quality is just so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, watch Betamax come back just like vinyl. And
I hope I live to see the day.
Actually, if you guys are curious about Betamax, there's a channel called Technology Connections. Pretty popular channel on YouTube.
Yes.
And he does a lot of stuff about various technologies. He has a really good series about Betamax and why it failed. It didn't fail, but why it didn't win the war, right? And all of the various sort of factors involved between how the tapes worked and all that kind of stuff, and the price war and so forth. So if you're curious, he does a good job, and not spending 8.5 hours doing it. He kind of gets to it.
Right.
But Jay, you're absolutely right. There's some manga I have in here that I got at my local library because they were just selling off a bunch of their manga. Because they had volume 3 of Naruto, whatever. Like here, man. So yeah, if you're looking to expand your collection,
or if you're like me, you can get a Ghost in the Shell, the original
yeah,
Ghost in the Shell manga.
exactly.
Get it home and excitedly open it up, and it'd be entirely in
It's
Japanese.
all in Japanese.
Yeah, I still have
All in Japanese.
I think I did give this. No, I didn't. I don't think. 1 second.
It wasn't an auction item yet.
Yep. Kicked out the headphones. That was fun. That happened to me at my local library. I mean, not like intentionally. This is one of the manga on their stacks, and I was like, "Oh, cool."
Yep.
And I don't think you can see that, but yeah, it's all Japanese. Yep. And so I got it because it was free, and I was like, "Sure, a Japanese, this is an interesting conversational piece." But yeah, this is like an actual Japanese copy. My question is how my local library got this. Like, what convoluted thing got Naruto volume something?
Somebody at a
Someone was
con.
very tired that day.
Somebody at a con went to the discount con bin and was like, "Oh, Naruto!" And they bought it and they put it in their bag and they went home. They're like, I'm gonna sit down I'm gonna donate to the library.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. That said, if you want to learn to draw, if you want to understand manga and like how manga comes together, a really effective way of doing that is to read manga in Japanese and just look at the visuals. Look at how the panels are constructed, how things are laid out, and how much you can understand of it without the dialogue. And you will learn a surprising amount about like panel layout and communication just through visuals and so forth, just by doing that. So convenient.
So 28 pages of powering up a Kamehameha speaks volumes without any kind of translation.
28 pages?
28 volumes,
sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was optimistic.
Might as well be 28 volumes.
That's awesome, man. And man, in the chat is saying, look back on Amazon and already bought it back in 2011 for $14.99. same edition.
Wow,
it's amazing. That's one of the mind-blowing things to me is how good Amazon is at keeping those things in stock.
Yeah,
like that exact box set has been on Amazon for a decade, and it's still for sale.
It's in the long-term storage Amazon bunker.
Mm-hmm.
Get trillions of items.
I believe it.
Probably.
Cool. I'm trying to think what else. What else have we got?
News, things you like.
History.
Do
the chat have any questions for us?
Yes, who are you and where do you come from? What? Oh.
I'm Brent. I come from Earth.
You have a towel, so you are a hoopy fruit. So.
Yep. Actually, it's funny. I was on this little road trip this week, and I actually did throw a towel into the suitcase. Like, you never know. It's good to have.
Can tell. Yeah. Oh, hitchhikers! The things you've taught us that we don't even know.
Yeah.
Sort of like what a space gin and tonic. It's like having a gold bar beating you in the head. Like, oh, okay. Wow.
Such a writer.
Nothing like a gin and tonic.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jay, we're all in different places, so we're not gonna be able to do that very easily.
Pawn shop.
Oh, we lost Steve. Oh no.
Steve's heading to the pawn shop right now.
Exactly. Yeah. He's on his way.
He's so inspired.
Yeah. I don't know if I have any pawn shops in my area. I'm sure I do. I don't know. I'd have to see if such things exist.
I could guarantee you any pawn shop in Roanoke has guns and like tools.
Yeah,
It
yeah, that's the
really
other
probably
thing.
wouldn't have anything like anime.
Yeah, not a lot of discs, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen anime in Goodwill, but again, it's extremely random.
In very rare occasions, very rare, there'll be like an odd anime like disc one of whatever volumes in and amongst people's like flea market stuff.
Yeah.
So it'll be mostly movie, and you'll maybe see like one disc of anime, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe like a Spirited Away or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some of them, it's like Naruto, will pop up. But it's never like, hey, here's my box set complete from beginning to end of this anime series. It's like a random odd disc that like, Aunt Martha gave to little Timmy and he watched it a million times. It's all scratched up and now we're having a flea sale. Just, flea market, just throw it in there. Like, okay.
Yep. That's actually a good point, and man, that's the other issue is that, like you say, it's, you get it and it's like, wow, this disc is. Did the cat get this? Like, what's going on here? It's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a problem, but.
Or the shocking the proclivity of people to leave DVDs on like sunlit surfaces with the DVD side up versus the label, where it's like, they do get destroyed in sunlight like that after a while.
Granted, I would, lay down a CD or DVD like that temporarily to not scratch the surface. Yeah. But don't store it that way or don't. Any length of time.
Oh, I see Steve coming back.
Welcome
There's
back,
Steve again.
So.
And now he's frozen.
It's okay.
Yeah, everything just got kicked off.
Yeah, it happens. Internet. We were just shooting the breeze about experiences with used discs.
Yeah.
And bad things there. I actually had a friend once who, this won't reveal who it is, who Right Stuff would not allow to do returns anymore, because this person returned so many things for not being flawless discs. If there was a fingerprint on the disc, this person would send it back. All of the DVDs had to be flawless, and it got to the point where Right Stuff was like, "We're not going to do returns for you anymore."
Wow.
It's like, wow. That's a standard. That's definitely a standard. You have standards. That is true.
Did that end the purchasing at Right Stuff, or?
This person didn't buy a lot of anime from that point on. They've just moved it on to other than streaming and so forth and so on. So they just weren't a big collector at that point.
All right. There was a parting of the ways, and it worked out for both parties. Well, good for them.
That's interesting. Craigslist. I wonder. I'm gonna try it. This is silly. It's not silly.
Don't go to the listing where they invite you into the woods to buy a copy of Higurashi.
Okay, so
don't do that.
What I've got in my local listings are an original anime art signed prints of Pikachu with a mohawk, a leather jacket, and a sword with the text "Mary Poppins, y'all." A Millennium Actress movie poster.
Undo Pikachu? Really? Yondu Pikachu.
I guess, apparently. 2 PSP PlayStation Limited Edition game bundle Japanese anime figures. It looks like Milky Holmes character. Oh, 2 Milky Holmes characters. Fine. A Dragon Ball Z car poster. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
And other Pokemon stuff. Oh, there's some fairy tale books. But that is a ways. There is a Laserdisc collection. 1 second.
Wow.
Yeah. Laserdisc collection. Yeah, no. Hi, Cash. Okay, this is somebody looking for Laserdisc collections. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's not really helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, this is volumes 1 through 10 of Fairy Tale. If you want to get that. But that seems to be about it in terms of stuff in my area, unfortunately, at the moment. On Craigslist in anime. Now we know.
And you know what knowing is? Oh, yeah, wrong show.
Half the battle.
Go, Joe.
Yeah, and Amazon has that problem. Not that problem. People will be very liberal with their use of Amazon's return policy of of that, where it's like, oh, yeah, it's fine to an extent. Wow, a Game Escape of an anime love doll, $500. Yep,
Oh,
great. Because you know what I want is a used love doll. Wow.
Pre-loved for your enjoyment.
So much love.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
couldn't contain all the love, so I'm sharing it with you. No, you are not. Thank you.
Yeah. And then of course eBay. Yeah. Plenty of eBay. I've actually had pretty good luck back when I was doing it, doing lots on eBay. So just look for a manga lot or anime lot, whatever. And sometimes inevitably you're not going to get all of your favorite series 1 through 38, but you'd get large chunks of things. You can say, okay, I'm getting 5 random interesting things here and a few things to fill in the collection there and so forth for $40. Done.
Okay.
And then half of it I have no idea what it is. I'll sell it off or whatever. But that's been pretty useful. Gotcha. Please link that in the Discord. Game Escape. I would like to see that at some point. Definitely not on YouTube. I think YouTube would be unhappy with links to things like that. But
yeah, slightly.
Yeah.
Well, there was something several years ago. The Amazon's return policy. There was some couple that was arrested for fraud, and I'm still not entirely sure how they did it. That they would order a bunch of stuff, and then they return a bunch of stuff, and then they'd order more stuff and return stuff, and they had this thing going, and it's like, I don't know whether Amazon, I've never heard of it, but some places used to offer like 110% price guarantee.
Oh, yeah.
So that, if you find it some other place, we'll give you, the price that they're asking plus, 10% back because we can beat their prices.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't understand how they defrauded Amazon, but they ended up getting arrested for fraud for their return policies to Amazon. So
I know there are things you can do with gift cards. To take a gift card, use that gift card somewhere else, use it on PlayStation for example. But it takes like a day for that to process. So while that's happening, you can then make an exchange or whatever. And if you time it just right, then you're basically it's free money. So that may be what they're trying to do with that. I don't know. But yeah,
I'm not savvy enough to know that stuff.
No.
But it was they got to go to jail.
There was a thing.
Free prison time.
Yeah. A couple of years ago, well, quite a few years ago, it was either Lowe's or Home Depot. They had a bug in their shopping cart where if you went all the way to checkout, clicked back, and then went forward again, it would skip the payment step.
Oh.
Yeah. And I think just by clicking the buttons, like not going, but whatever.
Right.
And it was one of those things where, okay, it happens. And they found that there was some couple in California, I think, that was ordering hundreds of dollars of hardware every day, and backing it and then just dumping it on Craigslist or something. And so yeah, they got nailed for that. They could tell. So checked up on it and
they got 3 square meals a day.
Yeah.
God, and exercise time,
Yep.
all for free.
What gave it away? The 500 hand.
Yeah. No person orders 7,000 hammers in 10 days.
Well, that was the
Not
thing.
likely.
Is that they were the funny thing was if they had just bought some stuff around the house, they never would have noticed. If they had just done a few little things, or maybe even $100 here and there would be fine. But they just. Mm-hmm.
Why are we shipping 50 washers and 700 dishwashers and dryers to one location? Bit curious, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it is interesting, man. There are people who are like really, really, kind of anal about the quality of their books. And to be clear, like I've gotten books where I'm like, okay, yeah, no, this is like damaged, like there's chunks missing or like things torn or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's if there's a little bit of a slight bend to some things, like okay, bend it back, it's fine. I don't know.
I just want to buy the Amazon used book where somebody like used like $100 bills as bookmarks,
right.
And there's like and they bookmarked a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then I benefit. Mm-hmm. Haven't found that yet.
Keep looking.
But someday.
One can hope.
One can hope. Exactly.
My luck would be like one of those jokesters that has their business cards where part of it looks like a $20 bill.
Yeah.
And they put that like in the book, be like, I got $20. Oh, you.
Mm-hmm.
Ted's Lawn Services. Oh, Ted, you got me again.
Or who knows? You could see somebody's name in the front of books over and over and over, wonder who that is, and eventually meet that person and fall in love, Whisper the Heart, just do that whole Whisper the Heart story, right? That could happen.
Sure. I could also put a letter in my lake house mailbox and it'll go forward or backwards in time 2 years or something. I don't remember what that story was, but wasn't it called The Lake House? I think it was. And Keanu Reeves and
something like that.
Somebody, and he writes a letter and it goes in time. He puts it in the mailbox and it's opened up in later time. It's not Meg Ryan. I don't know who the heck the actress was. It was something.
Whoa.
Random thoughts, not anime, not good.
Well, I have a question.
What did we learn on the show tonight, Brent?
The show tonight, Brent.
The show tonight, Brent.
Perfect as always.
Oh my.
Boy, what did I learn? I learned. I shouldn't say this. I'm going to anyway.
Past 10.
I learned I should watch movies before we actually talk about them on the show.
Hey, you did. You saw it.
I saw it a decade ago. So, yeah, sorry. But, yeah, that would have been helpful. You do what you can. I also learned that, I don't know, that animes got the attention of the government, and that has me kind of, I wouldn't say excited, that has me intrigued for the future. The future is interesting. Yes, I think where all that's going to go.
Well, animes we know from Australia's banning of certain anime, it has certainly come up in the world globally. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things I learned as well. Is it's like anime is making greater and greater impact. Now, is it a lasting impact? Is this a bubble? Is it a bubble of its own? I cautiously go so far as to say is it makes money. Mm-hmm. The world likes making money.
True.
So it may grow and then shrink a little, but people watch TV, people go to movies. Mm-hmm. This is TV and movie.
Yep.
So it's going to be a thing, and Mugen Train certainly has taught us that anime movies and TV make money. Big monies. So that's a good thing.
I wonder if that's one of the things that got the Justice Department.
Was the success of Mugen Train and worrying about domination of the entire movie market.
Because Funimation has Mugen Train.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great point.
I've also learned as a sort of side note that physical Pong is probably the most amazing things to watch. That the regular digital Pong on a screen is like nothing like physical Pong. It is brilliantly captivating to watch.
This is very
Not
true.
easy to play, but
No.
brilliantly captivating to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Steve, how about you?
I have learned that I probably need to ease up on Satoshi Kon while viewing, because at some point it's gonna just. One day I'm just gonna just be like a little bit of control. You guys are gonna go on the Zoom chat, but no, I love his stuff. Still love his movies. Really, really enjoy it. I'm just glad that I did not have my beer watching this. Earlier this week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what happens when you put live yeast into beer, folks? You don't do that. It just explodes.
Yep.
I've also learned that anime is no longer going to be anymore because the DOJ is got interested into it because it's obviously making money. So obviously there's some numbers out there that we're find out about it, and I'm kind of wondering if Sony is to hire a case attorney to for the court cases.
They need to, certainly.
I object.
Objection noted. Overruled. What?
Exactly.
Oh.
Cool. All right, thank you all so much. I think that'll do it for us for tonight. It's been a pleasure as always. Appreciate it.
Did you notice Jay's comment? Sadly, I learned that the show people are tone deaf. Oh, ouch. Ow.
I apologize, Jay. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Again, sorry about that.
We're pitch perfect. Oh,
Yeah. Not sure what you're doing there, but yeah. Hope you guys have a great time. See ya. Have a great rest of the week.
Johnny. Sayonara.